The band is back together, but the venue has changed. Brand new Roosters, brand new fun casual joint. We're out here in the vortex of Gahanna, New Albany, Columbus. I don't know where we are exactly.
We're calling it Gahanna.
All right, we're going to call it
Gahanna. We're like finally a part of the Gahanna community, which is, right outside Columbus. Yeah. And we are so excited. We've wanted to be here for so many years, and a building opened up, and we made it happen.
This building is awesome. That's Bobby Carpenter, Justin Zwick, Nicole Cox. I am Austin Ward. It's been way too long since the four of us have been together. Berm will be here shortly. But this... Bob, what do you think about this new Roosters location?
The digs here are fantastic, and it's got sweet garage doors you can open up. Maybe not today, but maybe
why not?
Probably not today.
In a future tomorrow when it's nice outside, but very light, open, spacious TVs everywhere, Nicole. Like this
we have 70 65-inch TVs.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot.
These places, over on Sawmill is the newest probably one, and then
in Columbus.
Yeah, and then this one. You guys have done an amazing job.
Flagship
stores. Beautiful in here, and golly, get in here, when this thing opens up to the public. This is going to be awesome.
We open Thursday to the public. So this Thursday, February 20th, normal hours, 11 a.m.
Okay.
Opening,
I was promoting the soft launch today. I didn't know when the real launch was. So I said it'll help open up sometime.
It'll be coming.
In the next few days.
They got an invitation from Bob.
Well, no, I didn't say
they're showing up at the door. Bob told me on the radio to come today.
It'll be opening. I was like, it'll be opening here, I'm sure, within the week.
Bobby, it is fine. No worries. We appreciate you promoting it. And we're just so grateful to all of our guests and the excitement, Gahanna, the Gahanna community. They've just been so supportive and so excited. So,
how long did you guys work on this thing? You gutted the whole entire place, I imagine,
did.
Right?
I mean, luckily the bones were here. Yep. So, they
found bones.
Chicken bones. That's they knew it was supposed to be.
But it's very interesting because it's not like any of our other locations. And that's what I love. I love that it's like, maybe for the next location, Olentangy, adding in a little, it's like, this is really neat over here. Or the kitchen is gigantic, which is amazing. And so just little things you learn. It's kind of nice having different layouts. So, and we have this goat wall behind us. Did you see it? Greatest of all time.
Yeah, but I don't see Justin or Bobby.
Well, now I didn't do the decorating. Maybe we can work on that. There's a little extra room here on the edge. So
I think there's something above the urinal in the bathroom for my picture.
Oh, that would
be perfect. Yeah,
that does make sense. Yeah. Get a little eye contact with JC.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll get some images of you guys in here.
All right. Winter workouts. What do we think? Midway through, Bob.
I'm glad I'm not going through them.
Yeah,
you win a national championship.
Yeah, no doubt.
You get a month, and you're like, well, suddenly you're right back in.
And that month went like that.
It did. It went quick. Well, because you started so late, so you had to dive right back into it. And what is today? The 18th? Less than a month, they'll be in spring ball.
Yeah.
So,
do you like this new schedule?
As far as like the college football schedule?
No, they're adjusting spring ball.
Well, they have to. You can't. Yeah. Because there's certain things you need to get done as far as building a foundational strength base and things in the winter that you work on. And we would have a lot more time to do that. We would start our spring ball till like April.
We would have like a month off over wintertime just to lift and do normal type things before 6 a.m. started.
Yeah, off. Like a month of normal lifting.
Yes,
and then we'd start our winter conditioning for like 3 weeks and then get done with that, go into finals and stuff, and we flip over quarters, and then we'd finally start again. So there is a foundational base, especially for the young players and guys that are coming in that are developmental guys that need to get stronger, faster, speed some things that you can work on later. But really, you need to add weight, you need to add mass, and then ultimately try to transition to get ready to play some football here, March 17th, which is coming at you thick and fast.
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Get out there and play some. It is an interesting, setup.
St. Patrick's Day.
Get practice out of the way. You can do whatever you want after that. Although these Buckeyes don't seem to
No.
Take it to the same level that you did back
Plus, they'll be coming straight off spring break. So either you keep the party rolling or...
Yeah, that was always interesting because ours started like the Monday after spring break. So it's like they gave you a Sunday meeting, Sunday night meeting. Everybody better be there, depending on what you did for that week. Most of us kind of stayed and worked out and did, wanted to prepare for spring ball. But
well, you were a quarterback.
You definitely had the guys who went and enjoyed themselves. I never got to go on a spring break trip.
Yeah, 0 spring breaks. Yeah. That's really that's one of my great regrets in life.
I think we'd have had a. It's probably better off.
I think you've both made up for it.
We did okay on it. We did okay on King Avenue.
Watching TJ Downing walk back in after he had just driven straight back from Myrtle Beach to that Sunday night meeting. I honestly, I was kind of envious of him.
That sounds terrible.
He looked like
That
he
really
lived
does.
a decade in a week. It was amazing.
Oh. Yeah.
Jay-Z, you missed those workouts, those 6 a.m.s?
No, not at all. Those were always the dread of the winter, because it's just so cold and you're waking up early. Now, Grant, I will say, I think our freshman year after the national championship was probably the hardest 6 a.m. And then, as years went on, they got a little bit easier.
I think they get easier as you get older.
Well,
psychologically.
But they also got to the point where we're doing juggling one day, and they had different things put into them where they weren't just like hardcore, board drills and just get after it. So I mean, I think it got easier as the time went on, and maybe as we got older, we just learned how to deal with it a little bit better. And waking up early and wasn't a big thing because we always like to work out in the morning anyways. But I mean, I remember that first year on the old turf in the Woody Hayes, concrete basically.
Yeah,
oh,
patio carpet.
Those practices or those 6 a.m.s were the worst ones.
Well, it was terrible then too because you didn't have a vehicle right by.
We were in the Moral Tower. We had to take the bus over.
So I think the bus would get picked up.
I would picked up. Yeah.
Doug and I would walk over to the parking garage, which was like a nice quarter.
Yeah, because you had a nice little deal.
Yeah, but it was still a quarter mile walk at 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, and like on days like this, it didn't feel great.
Yeah, I stayed with my brother those nights, and
there was no remote starts 20 years ago. Not like today. Dude.
You guys were so spoiled.
It was still frozen by the time you got to the Woody Hayes parking lot.
I remember my Buckeye D breaking in half one time because I was trying to scrape. You know what has scrapers in college? Trying to scrape the ice off. To get there, dude, you're driving through a porthole like this.
You guys, I did that. I literally did that yesterday when I was leaving because there was ice on my windshield. I was like, well, I got to get out of here. So I had my little hole that I could
I know you have a remote start on your vehicle.
I do. I didn't start it early enough.
That's
I
got to
didn't
give
start
it a good 15
15
minutes.
I'm getting used to doing that. So
used to. I mean, you've been living here your whole life.
I know, but I have like a new car
technology.
That has a new start. Like I didn't have that
used
before.
to it yet.
Okay, yeah.
And I used to park in the garage. Now I'm not parking in the
You
garage.
Got kicked outside.
We got kicked out.
You know how that goes. It's like an overflow.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's what it is. First come, first serve, I guess. There, but that's. I started every morning. But that was terrible. Like those are the things that you remember. It wasn't you would come and sit in the hot tub just to get like warm, not to get like warm for practice, just to get warm from the outside. It was like going to a campfire.
And then you're going to the Woody where it wasn't warm in there really anyways.
It was freezing in there today. I think they had one of the doors open on the indoor. But that's when you get these like 0 degree days and you're up at 4:45 to get in there. It's terrible. One of the best stories ever. You'll remember this because you were there. I was not. It was my senior year, and the way Tress would do, like going into your senior year, and they used to let rising juniors run on pro day. And if you did that, then you didn't have to do the last 6 a.m. And like they made you come in on like a Saturday and do like a little workout. But it's like, all right, you get to come in and run a 40. And that was a big deal. It's like, okay, we're going to do that. I picked up Curtis Terry every day for this time. He was linebacker out of Glenville. And I said, I told him like at the beginning of the week, I'm going to be running on Friday. I won't be there to get you. I won't be there to get you. I got to ride, Bob. I got to ride, Bob. I got to ride, Bob. Did he show up on time? No. He did not. But the problem is then there wasn't like texting, all this stuff. So he got left at Moral Tower. I think we were he was actually living in Central Campus.
Yeah, because they switched those guys by that time, I think,
He ran in his Timbs and like sweats and coat. Ran from Morrison to the Woody, which is probably like a mile and a half, 2 miles.
It's a good warm-up, no doubt.
2 miles. They said he got there 5 minutes late. And Fick goes, honestly, I couldn't even really, because if you were late, dude, it was an hour on the climber.
On the climber.
High intensity, terrible.
No hands. They'd whack your hands if you're holding on to them.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh. And Curtis Terry, they said he ran onto the field and like threw his coat off and just started going through everything with his clothes on.
In his Timbs.
In his Timbs and his sweats and like just went through it all. And they're like, all right, I mean, you in all fairness ran like
you ran through campus to get here today.
You probably ran 2 miles in 15 minutes and then you just ran right into the workout, didn't complain. Afterwards, didn't try to lobby to get out of it. You're like, all right, when do you need me in here tomorrow? And I think they're like, all right, dude, do like 10 minutes on the climber.
Yeah, you're good, dude. We appreciate you. We appreciate the effort.
The dedication. But I told him, I told him every day.
Yep.
He forgot.
You did your part, Bob.
I tried, but I was just impressed that he had gotten to that point in his career where, like,
He actually ran across campus to get there. Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, screw it, and like just not showing up or making a million excuses. Not the
he came a long way in his time at Ohio State.
Complain, deny.
Yeah.
Like he was not that guy and just went in there and did it. And so like that's the worst 6 a.m. story ever. Because by the way, he got there probably looking like Lloyd Christmas with like snot. It wasn't like he ran there in the warp. It was probably like 10 degrees outside. Snot stuck to his face.
It's crazy how you go from, a month ago at this time, winning a national championship, and it's like, we haven't seen you in a few weeks. I know you're just in the afterglow of championship. Like, Ohio State is already on to 2025. There's no time to stop and smell the roses, even when you win a national championship.
We had a meeting. I know we had a meeting with the team, with the front office, because we do the Ohio State football coaches outing for them. We host that to help raise money for the Excellence Fund.
Yeah,
Nicole started planning it last July.
We technically, like, Eric, who works for Roosters, phenomenal. Like, he heads that event.
He is phenomenal. He is
the
one that brings the chips.
His wife is phenomenal.
Yeah, they both.
Right here.
His wife is phenomenal.
She is as well, definitely. But he we wanted to start planning it even earlier, but then we kept winning, which obviously totally fine by us.
All the winning.
But
we tired of all the winning.
But we said to them, like, you guys didn't get any time off. They're like, no, usually those would be our couple down weeks. They weren't complaining at all. They were like, it was amazing, but it's like, you come back, you're like, okay, and work didn't stop, and now we're full blown in it, and already behind. So it is kind of weird how the national championship game is kind of late, in my opinion.
Kind of late.
It's getting later in the next couple of years, too.
You guys, I just feel like
it's incredible.
I don't know. Because the other stuff doesn't seem to be getting pushed back. So I don't know. But
what are you going to do? Push it back? Like, eventually the season has to start.
Sooner or later, you got to push something up, I think, and maybe kick off a little early in the fall. It was just interesting.
But obviously, they were on cloud nine, and we were as well. It's just been so exciting.
The minds of coaches are fascinating. Like, we're behind for 2025. You just won a national championship, but they are. You say they're not really complaining. They don't like it when you're trying to go win the next one.
Because everybody else
behind.
Everybody else has been working for a month or more. Transfer portal, NIL contracts. Ohio State had a compressed schedule for
coaching changes that you have to fill. Yeah.
And we're going to get into some of that and Matt Patricia here in a bit with Bob. But I guess that is why the standard is the standard.
Always is.
Because they are now trying to catch back up.
Nicole, if this store was a turd, I'd be like, this is not the Rooster standard. The standard is the standard. This honestly elevated the standard. So when the Olentangy,
I can't wait for that.
When the Olentangy refresh
excited to see what you guys got for
that place is going to be a conference.
Guys, we're excited.
We're getting excited. They already are over there working on it. So
are we still going to be able to ski in there downhill to the back?
Nope. It's gonna be completely flat. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
Hey,
yep. It's going to be it's gonna look like this.
That's
with the
amazing.
Fresh wood and it needed a facelift. It really did. So
like Jerry Jones.
And the universe just kind of forced us into that.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're denying the standard just says, "Here we are. Come meet me."
Well, don't forget, we're going to have a show all about standard is the standard. So you guys start prepping for it. I've already got my notes. Yep.
Nicole's not prepared for this, so she's probably going to want to go last. 4 winter workouts.
Ooh.
Who is someone, Bob, that you think needs to make the most of it to get themselves a nice foundation to carry into spring ball next month?
Oh gosh, there's a couple guys. When you lose as many guys as you did, there's a lot of opportunities there. I'm gonna go with an offensive guy, and a guy who's got a ton of ability. And this is crazy that I just realized this 2 weeks ago when I don't know if I was researching him or someone mentioned it to me. But Jelani Thurman.
Oh, okay.
I think Jelani Thurman is a guy of high ability, and we saw him play some this year. Not maybe as much at the end of the season. You pull one of the best tight ends in the country out of the portal from Purdue.
Yeah,
very talented. Obviously, Kazmarek is coming back. Old Billy Kazmaier, and so he's going to be there. But I think that with the offense and the versatility of what you do, like Jelani Thurman is like a combination of both of those guys. He has the ability to be an inline blocker. He has the ability to be flex. He can be a great receiver. And I just realized that Odell Thurman was his father.
You just realized that?
I did not know that before. I don't know how I didn't.
Well, they're pretty impressive genetics.
Because they talked about his mom playing the WNBA. And so I was like, okay. And then I was like, and I don't know how I got it. I was like, wait, his dad's Odell? And I'm like, because he's a year older than like Jay-Z and I.
Yeah.
And I'm
Makes
like,
a lot of sense now. This guy's a freak.
His dad was a dog. And I'm like, we're going to try to find that inner dog inside.
Yeah.
That's going to be my goal, and trying to get that and just bring that dog to life.
Well, there had been some uncertainty if they were going to be able to, keep Jelani Thurman for one more year because of bringing in Max Clare, having Will Kazmarek back. You have, Bennett Christian sticking around. So the room was pretty crowded.
Roberts just got here from Oklahoma. I mean, heck, we got Nate 5 Roberts, tight ends.
Yeah. The room is.
When a veteran guy like that, bringing in the guy from Purdue could only help him, right? Yeah. I mean, he's going to be able to lean on him and kind of get some tips and
got to compete.
And then you got to compete.
Well, there's no choice in that room.
Get beat.
That room is as deep and talented, I think, as it's ever
See
been.
some more
a lot of four tight end sets next year. Let's go.
It worked. All right.
It does work.
Bob goes with Jelani Thurman. A nice little pull there. All right.
Yeah, that is a good one.
He's going to talk about quarterbacks.
Well, 100% I am. And we talked about everything being ramped up right now.
Billy Gillespie?
Going into the offseason, I think everybody was wanting to see Julian being able to just maybe fill out a little bit.
Yeah.
If he's going to be the guy like most people think he, is.
We can track his
next year.
gains.
Well, I mean, I think, if you're going to be out there, you're going to take in some hits, or you're going to be, I think putting on some muscle, putting on a little bit of weight would be something that would benefit him. And, so I think this is a big offseason for him. The time that he's had in the weight room with Mick, I'm sure going into even bowl practices, I would think they were trying to ramp up a little bit as much as they could with keeping him fresh. And, not that they thought they were going to need him, but, I'm sure there was a plan in place knowing that, hey, if you're going to be out there next year, you're going to need to be able to take some hits. We're going to need you in the game. So you need to put on some pounds. And I think that's something that a lot of people are keeping an eye on. And so I think this could be a big offseason for him in that aspect. Getting stronger, he whips that ball. The more muscle you have on, the stronger it's going to get. The more zip's going to be on there. So I think that's big for him. And then the offensive line. I always like talking about the offensive line as well.
We're going to play all the hits today.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of guys coming back there in the middle. Figured some things out towards the end of the year, but I mean, as long as they continue to grow and that confidence that they had throughout that playoff run, I think is huge for them. Offensive line, that can be big. Playing with each other and just kind of feeling it out and going into the offseason knowing maybe not exactly who those 3 starters are going to be, but knowing that we've all kind of done different things and we had some success is going to be huge. I think they're going to grow on that big time.
Well, I think for Austin Serveld and Luke Montgomery, it's really easy now to forget that they were the end of their true sophomore seasons because they were out there playing in big-time playoff games and elevating their game. Like, they're still going to change pretty dramatically, I think, physically. And Berm and I were talking to Julian Sayin before the Rose Bowl on the notebook, and Berm just goes, "Are you taller?" Like, "Oh, yeah, I'm 6'2" now." It's like,
he's shooting up
that's
still,
he's
still a freshman,
And he's so young.
but in real time.
Wait, who is that?
Saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Julian? Yeah, I mean, he looks like a little baby. I thought you were talking about Austin.
No, I don't think he's getting any taller.
He might be getting shorter. He looks like he's getting older by the day.
He is.
I might have to talk to him about the hair plan, like I used to with my man Julian Fleming.
Well, Julian Fleming did not listen to the advice.
No, he didn't. So. He didn't heed it. I mean, there's a time where you've got to start taking it real low, low and tight. That's okay.
I think Austin will do that. So quarterbacks, offensive line, it's offense heavy.
I said Billy Gillespie, the former Billy Fessler. He needs to.
We were just kind of let that go.
We
were just going to move on.
Well, that's the former Kentucky.
Not really
coach,
sure.
Right? Yeah, a long time ago. Billy Fessler. He's got to get some gains.
Well, that's why Nicole wrote down a bunch of coaches' names. I think she's more worried about the coaching staff.
Yeah, who's going to be coaching these guys here?
And I was kind of shocked to see how many coaching changes we had, but I kind of get it. I mean, I guess once you win the national championship, you're like, okay. And then you are, you're prime real estate for all these other teams now, So, but just the vibes, again, vibes of being in the Woody.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody has everything under control in the sense of they feel so great about this new coaching staff, just the upcoming players, which I love because we've been watching them with the current players and how great they've been doing to win this national championship and all the adversity they've overcome. And then now, but also on the back end, they've been training all these younger players too.
Yeah.
And so I was going to say Julian Sand as well because we watched
Great
him.
minds think alike.
He only had a few passes during that practice we were at, but I just remember being very impressed. Like, okay,
Looked a little different.
Yeah, I thought I looked good, didn't you?
No, different in a good way.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
good.
no, yes.
I really
no, you're
thought I
on
did.
something there. Yeah.
Okay, I did, and I was impressed because he was so young, and so I do workout wise. I think he needs to be, obviously getting bigger, but I also, and this isn't really workout, but I also think Jeremiah Smith, like he is so talented, and I think that he's still young. So obviously, I mean, it's hard to say that he has room to grow because he's so fantastic. But I think we're all at this table, those people that like you reach your goal and then you're just like, well, I can't just sit here. I got to keep going. What's going? So I don't know if we'll watch him grow as more of a leader role because he's been just learning how to, I guess, play with this team and so it'll be neat to see him kind of morph, which I 100% see him morphing into like a, just a really big leader for this group.
It's scary to imagine what that can look like for him.
Yeah. I mean, because then
off-season.
he's the full, he's already kind of the full package, but then if you're like the number one leader on the team, my goodness, you're unstoppable.
He might be, especially if you can then complement that with another year of development for Carnell Tate or a guy that I'm really excited to see in spring ball because every time there are opportunities, Bob, to watch practice,
I'm
going to skip. I love Brandon Ennis. But I'm skipping to Mylan Graham.
Oh.
The guy that I'm because I know what
is
Brandon
it because it's because Brandon's short?
No, I know what Brandon Ennis can do. Excuse me, and I'm excited to
Height
see
discrimination?
him doing some of the Emeka Ibuka, stuff for Ohio State. I think that and he was making plays in the postseason as well.
Mylan's very good.
I think
he made some big time plays in practice. Like
every time you show up, 5 was doing something.
If you didn't weren't paying attention, there were times where he would make plays that you would have thought it was either a JJ or Carnell.
Right.
I mean, it was like if you didn't catch the number, it would have been the same.
And
that's amazing.
And people would say, well, why didn't he play more? Why didn't you get him involved as a true freshman? Well, probably because
what are you going to do?
You had Jeremiah Smith out there.
You have to play 4 tight ends.
Trying to find ways to get Brandon Ennis involved, and then Mylan Graham is a rung below that as a true freshman. It's not a knock on his ability in any way, shape, or form. He's going to be a star. I don't think there's any doubt about that for me. So
Star of stars.
Star of stars. And there's a lot of them, including Jeremiah Smith and including the new Roosters location.
The new Roosters guys. Thanks for coming out here today.
Just looking great. They don't have appetizer 3's day out here.
But it's fried pickles.
But
it's fried pickles.
Everywhere else, if you don't have an invitation to come here, fried pickles, which Jay-Z's favorites.
$3
Only way to eat
long.
pickles.
I think they're a big deal.
Only way. Yeah, they are.
You've been workshopping that material, Bob?
I like that.
Appetizer 3's day. That is today because we are at Roosters on a Tuesday. What else do they need to know about the grand opening out here, Nicole?
Just February Thursday. This week. We're closing the store tomorrow, so everybody can kind of regroup. They've had the management team, Jennifer Lane, who's the general manager, is absolutely incredible, and Ty, the kitchen manager. They've just been working. I mean, all day, all night kind of situation. So they need a day off and just to regroup. And then Thursday's the big
go
night.
Time.
We can't wait. Their team, everyone here is so wonderful. They've been training at some of the other stores. And it's just very exciting. It's been a while since we've had one of these open in Columbus.
Yeah,
so we're
awesome.
very excited.
Awesome. The place looks great. The food, of course, is awesome. As always, we're going to dig in to that after we take a break in here. Berm is going to be here to talk about some of the changes with the coaching staff with Bob and Jay-Z. And Nicole is going back to work.
Way to go, Mingle.
Go Mingle.
All right, we'll be right back in here at Roosters, the fun casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into this brand new Roosters in Gahanna, and Berm has arrived.
Beautiful.
He's taste tested the food already.
Beautiful, great mac and cheese bites.
Are they?
Yeah.
What's fresh?
Excellent.
The oil's fresh.
Yeah, the oil's so
Everything
fresh.
is top notch. This reminds me very much of the Roosters in Sylvania, so it's more of a hometown feel.
Oh, wow.
I mean, honestly, between the people at this table, I mean, we've probably been to a fairly large sample size of the Roosters in the Central Ohio.
I think there should be a Roosters World Tour. We should have mentioned that.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, we should probably go around,
take it down the road,
the city, and do different shows at different stops. But we'll talk about that later. That's not a here nor now situation. But yeah, I love like the vibe. It's very light, bright, and for those of us in the Northwest Ohio corridor,
you're not going to miss anything that is on TV.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
Overstimulation.
Lots of television.
I mean, you got TVs on the outside of the bar,
inside,
underneath the bar.
You're at the bar, boom, you're ready.
If I can say one more thing about the restaurant itself, is that
you were a restaurateur before.
As a Northwest Ohio guy, sometimes I get really frustrated when people forget that Cincinnati is in Ohio.
Yeah.
And so when I look over there and I see Bengal stuff and Brown stuff and Buckeye stuff, then I start to feel a little bit warm inside.
We just got to get Pete Rose on the goat wall, the hit king.
Yeah. Is he on the wrong wall? Oh, yeah.
He's over there. He's in the front. We got to migrate him to the goat wall.
I do see him over there.
But there's red.
He's pointing to the goat wall.
I just appreciate a place that actually cares about all of Ohio, and Roosters does.
Yes, they do.
Well, they've got Tom Brady up there, responsible for a lot of Matt
They even
Patricia's
have the
success.
Michael. They even have the Michael.
How about that?
They even have the Michael Scott quote: "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." That Wayne Gretzky stole from him.
Let's talk about Ryan Day taking shots, and he took a shot, and he hired Matt Patricia as his
defensive
coordinator. Bob, I think you're the only one up here that's ever met the guy.
Don't worry, the people on Twitter.
Everything I've read is that he's got no personality and he's not going to be able to recruit.
Did you see that? Okay, number one, did Jim Knowles recruit at all?
Well, sure.
Zero.
I'll give you that.
I told that to Bill Landis on a podcast earlier last week. If he's like just 98% not weird and he talks to kids a little bit, then he's going to do more recruiting.
He's very calm. I really enjoyed him.
And that's not a knock on Knowles for being weird. He's
Knowles
just a weird guy.
He's a different cat. Yeah. And that's fine. I enjoyed talking to Jim Knowles. We talk about stuff that was non-football related. The
Roman Empire.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, he was all about different things. History. I mean, I said he might be a museum curator when he retires. But Matt Patricia, so you're up there in the Michigan region. I think people need to understand this. You have to be able to delineate a guy from being a position coach or coordinator, like different jobs of what they're asked and tasked to do. Kerry Combs did a tremendous job as a DB's coach here at Ohio State. Maybe not as good a job as a defensive coordinator. That doesn't make him a bad DB's coach if he goes back to that. Mm-hmm. I know people it taints him in their mind, but no, he's really good at that. Matt Patricia was a really good defensive coordinator. He's incredibly intelligent. I've always found him to be very personable, a collaborative guy, not like a big ego guy. Sometimes when guys get the head job, you feel the need to maybe impress upon your will more so than what you are and try to be what you've seen instead of what you think you should be. Mm-hmm. And I think he probably tried to be a little too Bill in Detroit, and that rubbed people the wrong way. He didn't have a lot of success, and so they fired him. And that's okay. But you look from 12 to 17, what he was able to do in New England, the oscillation between the different types of defenses they ran based upon personnel. When they had Darrelle Revis, they went out and got Browner, and they said, we're going to play single high man, and we're going to be great at that. Revis leaves, get rid of Browner, we're going back to cover 2. We can run 4 down, we can run 3 down. All of the stuff that people wanted to see with the variations and how multiple the defense could be, those are things that Matt Patricia is going to give to you. And then you have the continuity of the rest of the staff still being there. And so, all of those things in concert, I think, works really well. And I love digging this up. Interesting notes, because you always like to see, coaches that have coached with other people before. And just, if nothing else, I call it, shared suffering, you've been through, especially if you have a coach that's really tough.
Especially if someone was the head coach of the Lions.
Yeah. That's
or had anything to do with that franchise prior to Dan Campbell.
I mean, listen, outside of Dan Campbell, I'm show me someone else that's really been good. I mean, you look at this.
That's it.
You look at this. Steve Spagnuolo, not good with the Rams. One of the best coordinators of all time. Vic Fangio, similar situation. You could argue people with Chip Kelly. Nobody was hiring him in the NFL last year, and now he's the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. So, you tell me, where this goes.
Well, that doesn't mean that that's necessarily a good decision for the Raiders. But
I didn't say that, but but just as far as perception, because one of the arguments I heard on Twitter is well, he's not highly coveted. I don't care. You ever seen the movie Shallow Hal? Like, I just need the guy to be good for
That
me.
movie legitimately made me cry. It was
should.
so sad.
But it's like, I just need.
They took it from him.
I just need that to be good for me.
They took the greatest gift ever from him.
There was an argument posed to me on Twitter that said, do you think James Franklin called him before he hired Jim Knowles? And I was like, this was the last. I've been down in Guantanamo Bay. I've been out in the sun. I've gotten bit by 1,000 mosquitoes on my leg. I was at the end of my rope trying to, like, I'm not telling you that Matt Patricia is going to be the greatest defensive coordinator in the world, but I'm like, I can tell you this, he's not going to be terrible. I'm like, give the guy a chance. I think he'll do pretty well. I think you'll be happy with that. But, like, if you're telling me the threshold and baseline for hiring coordinators at Ohio State is the James Franklin call them and bring them in, I go, then you know what? Why don't we take a coach swap and you can take Jimmy Franklin in here, and then we'll give Ryan Day to Penn State, because that's not a world that I really want to live in.
And newsflash, there's not a lot of coaches who would take a call from James Franklin.
Yeah, and that's part of it as well. Like, so all of that different stuff and concept, I think he's going to be good. But he actually did coach with Tim Walton at Syracuse for a year when he was a GA and Walt was the DB's coach. And, like, they coached under Paul Pasqualoni. Pasqualoni was my linebacker coach at Dallas, and that is one tough dude to coach for. So I'm sure, like, there's just a relatability there.
It's hard to go into a situation and try to be a guy that won 5 Super Bowls if you're not the guy that won 5 Super Bowls. You know, like, you're not.
It's hard.
You're not Bill Belichick, and so I'm interested. I mean, again, you brought up being in the Detroit market, like the response from people up there, both on the Ohio State side, who are like, "Oh no, he had a bad time in Detroit and no one wanted him," and then the Michigan side, which is, "Oh, thank God, he sucked with the Lions. He's going to suck with you guys." Like, I don't know that anybody who has never dealt with the guy personally or played for him can understand who he would be as a defense coordinator. I think what the interesting part is that he left the Lions and then went back to New England as an offensive coordinator, and that was not good.
Yeah.
And so,
but I'm not going to judge him on that.
Strange.
It was, but I'm not. They didn't ask him to be the OC here either.
Yeah,
like,
so just weird little things that have happened in his career.
He's really smart.
But everyone that I've talked to secondhand about him is like raves about him. So it is weird. I think sometimes how perception and personalities and reputations get all.
Yeah, I mean, personality. I saw a little clip of him on, I think he was on the McAfee show during Super Bowl, and it came across as a dude who seemed normal and was having a conversation, and that's like, oh, this guy seems all right.
That's the dude that I knew from New England.
Yeah.
The guy that was there in Detroit, I talked to him one time at the Super Bowl, and he was like that with me, but then again, I wasn't playing for him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the guy you saw. Like, there can always be, like, shifts and things can happen. Like, you don't know, man. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know.
But a guy who's been around one of the greats to ever do it for all those years, he had to pick up something, and he got that Lions job because he had a lot of success, and he was a name that everybody was going
one
after.
Of 32 jobs.
Exactly.
I told people, I don't like it. I go, then you go back and watch the film from 2012 to 2017. Yeah. You tell me specifically what you don't like about his defensive calls. Yeah. Because I'm telling you right now, he called.
Yeah, there was lots of like before.
They had good players, but it wasn't like they had the greatest defense of all time. And there were times when they were ranked number 1, multiple times. Yeah. Like, he calls a good game. It's tough to get a beat on him.
I think the reason that I came away so surprised by it initially was because of what Byrne mentioned. The reputation is prickly personality, difficult to deal with. And I don't know how much of that comes solely from the Detroit experience, how much of it is the lingering Belichickian, philosophies and maybe too much of that. I don't know. I haven't met him, and really nobody outside of Ryan Day spent a great deal of time trying to interview him or get to know if that fit works. I think if you're talking about someone with that level of experience at the NFL, the absolute highest level, and with one of the most respected defensive minds of all time, I'd bet that person is going to be able to come in and do whatever he could possibly dream up and scheme up at the college level and with the personnel that Ohio State has. So that part, like, I don't really have any uncertainty about. It was the second part, which is, okay, now you are in college and you have to find a collaborative relationship with both players and other coaches, because the culture, and we saw this just a year ago, how important that is and what it does to elevate college teams beyond just X's and O's. So that's the part that I don't know, and you're the only one of us that has that experience.
He's not a dick, dude. Maybe he was in Detroit, but the guy that I saw, sorry, Bill was in charge. I'm like, Matt called the defenses. Gerard Mayo called the defense. Like, Bill let his guys coach it and let them do it. But I always saw a guy, like, if you came to him with an idea, we're talking, asking questions, like, no, you know what, let's do it this way. Like, it was never, this is my idea. This has to be the way it's done. This is my idea. This is why I think we should do it this way. you don't think that, so let me hear your idea. We can talk about this and figure it out. Like, he was never a big ego guy. Like, he's not a big chest pound. Like, he's one of the smartest guys.
Well, even if he was, the last few years could certainly have changed.
Would have humbled. And that's the other thing I tell people. Like, guys change. Like, bad experiences, good experiences. You are shaped by your experiences as a coach. And sometimes, like, you go see coaches who failed their first time and they're much better the second, simply due to the fact that they learned.
They found out what didn't work for them and what,
That's
they
not a crime. It's not a crime.
And a lot of times in life, it's about understanding who you are.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Kerry Combs on this show and others plenty of times. I'm not going to say refusal to accept your station in life, but we're all ambitious people. We're all ambitious. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds
when you are promoted
elevated to
past the level of your competency.
Sure, that.
Like Brent Venables.
We all have an ambition to keep improving and growing and being in bigger spots. And sometimes you have to get a wake-up call to be like, oh, wait a second, that's maybe not where I belonged. And how you respond to that, I mean, we saw, unfortunately, for Kerry Combs, I don't think he's not going to retire with the legacy that people probably should have for him.
He did take a defense to a national championship game.
Yeah, but it was there. Defense was there.
What happened then?
They showed up.
There were a lot of players out with COVID.
That's right.
We're not going to hold that against him. But now, he's been let go at Cincinnati. Like, he's probably going to retire now, maybe go back to – I don't know what he's going to do. But, like, he was a great defensive backs coach and a great recruiter. And then you become a defense coordinator, and it's a wake-up call, and then all of a sudden people think all of a sudden you're terrible at everything. It's just not the case. Unless, of course, you let it be. Unless you let it eat at you, get in your brain like an earworm.
Yeah, we don't want that. I mean,
do you think that Matt Patricia has an earworm and that's why he lost so much weight? Go.
I don't.
I think the weight was all in the beard.
Yeah, he trimmed that beard down.
He said it was all in the boxing.
Yeah, doing a lot of boxing.
Doing a lot of boxing.
Yeah, I mean,
great. So people will be doing those stories for the next 9 months.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, the Ryan Day
tennis get in the ring with Matt Patricia.
The Ryan Day tennis stories have run out.
That's true. I mean,
but Ohio State is also taking this other approach, which is elevating assistants, and that's on the offensive side, which I think is a fascinating dynamic. Jay-Z with Brian Hartline, who we expect to be calling the plays this year. Like, this has been coming for a while. 2 years ago, went into spring camps. Like, Brian Hartline's going to get an opportunity. Ryan Day's going to give up play calling, and that did not happen.
It didn't last long.
And I wonder, how thinking about things that are going to be important to watch starting on March 17th. Like, Brian Hartline is back in the spotlight here.
Brian Hartline's back, and then Keenan Bailey gets the co-coordinator just to kind of give him some help there, and maybe managing, getting a game plan together and whatnot. But I mean, I think, and those guys have both been here since 2016.
Yeah, they were in the same room together.
I mean, so it's like, and these guys have been
guys.
Keenan
celebrated his 21st birthday at Ohio State.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, I think so.
He's been there last year.
He's 29.
Is he?
I think he was. I think he may have been there.
That's insane. But you've heard about these guys for a lot of years being really good at what they do, and I think it's really cool of Ryan to say, all right, let's go. Yeah. Like, you guys have given us your loyalty. We've been really great coaches for us. This is the next step in your coaching career. Let's see how it's going to go. And, winning a national championship allows him to kind of do that, I think. Maybe with some guys who you're not really sure about, but somebody was going to give Ryan Day that job somewhere if he wanted it. And you have to say, all right, put up, shut up time. We're going to find out if you can call plays, and we're going to find out if you can be the offense coordinator that we think you can be. And, oh, by the way, here's somebody that's been with us for a long time we really trust. He's going to be your sounding board, bringing a new guy in who maybe has some different thoughts with Bowen. And, I think it's an experiment of sorts, but I think it's something that needed to happen.
We had a little bit of a conversation on Tuesday morning's Podcast Daily about Billy Fessler and
I forgot about Billy.
The promotion to being the full-time quarterbacks coach. Let me ask you guys a question. How important is it that your position coach played the position? And or for you, does the fact that you played quarterback, does that make you think that you would automatically be better equipped to coach someone than someone who hadn't?
I think there is importance there. But also, I think my best quarterback coach I ever had was a receiver at Youngstown State, my high school coach. But he was somebody who was on the offensive side of the ball, understood what that was, and he studied quarterback.
Well, because there's two different avenues for quarterbacks, right? There's the mental side of football, there's the offensive game,
and then there's knowing what you're going through, and there's knowing like, hey, when you're seeing this, I've been there, I've done it, and you understand what you're seeing and what you're able to, kind of talk through. So I think it does help. But then again, when I was at house, I mean, we didn't have. I guess Tress was our quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Did he play quarterback?
So the thing is, you always have Ryan, who was a quarterback, and I think the mechanics and different things, and he's still involved with that.
And that stuff's changed so much over the years. I mean, the mechanics and stuff that I was doing back in the day they're long gone.
20 years since all that stuff is always evolving and always kind of changing. It's interesting because Fick never played linebacker, but I thought he was a very good linebacker coach.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was linebacker adjacent.
He was at least nose tackle.
I mean,
bro.
he
stood up and
stood up and took a step backwards. And
I get it. I know he got an interception. Okay, he'll replay that highlight a million times. But
what does he talk about?
But I think he
still?
played D. That D front of the D line. So I mean, I think he understands. I think that helps. The same with the receiver being a quarterback coach. I think he understands. Or as a receiver,
is quarterback
I got to do this.
unique in that position is
I
so
think
different.
the throwing mechanics. That's the only thing as far as seeing it.
At this level, though, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, Tress tried to mess with my.
They've all got their own
a little bit when I came in, and it didn't. It wasn't much.
They've all got their own private quarterbacks coach
anyway
to deal with the techniques.
I think the understanding of coverages, because the receiver and quarterback, you got to see the same thing. So it's just a different vantage point of getting through that, because so many of these routes are multiple now based upon the coverage that you're seeing. Mm-hmm. I think it can help, but I don't think it's essential. Brian Hartline, I think, is a great receivers coach because he played receiver. He's great with the nuances and different things. And part of it is, though, he's a great communicator. You can be a dog crap coach just because you played the position if you can't communicate what you were able to do and why you were able to do that. Yeah. That's why there's a lot of former players that are awful coaches. You're like, former player. If they can't tell you why, AJ always jokes. He's like, I couldn't tell you why I did what I did half the time. He's like, I'm a terrible coach back there.
Yeah.
He's like, I just see it and go. And so there's that push and pull of trying to figure that out. So I think it can help as long as you're able to relay that information.
You see that with Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson. They weren't able to convey their greatness onto other people or not accept why they couldn't do the same things that their players could. It is not for everyone. It's a unique skill set.
It is. You look at the NBA, a number of former players have gotten into coaching. Some of them have been good. Some of them have been bad. Great players. You talked about Jordan. You talked about Larry Bird. Larry Bird, pretty good coach.
Jason Kidd, great coach.
Jason Kidd, good coach. Steve Kerr.
Chauncey Billups.
There's guys that have done a good job.
Seems like point guards are generally better coaches.
Well, you would say that. And then Mark Jackson. Not a great coach.
Coach for a long time.
Steve Kerr came in, took his team, won titles.
Won titles.
So, there's just that.
Something to do with the guys in the court.
That's what I'm saying. And, so it's a lot of it's guys, but if you can't communicate it and then adapt, the other thing is, some coaches, I want you to do it my way. Well, if the player isn't the same type of player you are physically, and that's what Fick was really good. He goes, every one of you has different gifts. And I try to always tell guys, it's hey, I'm 6'3", I'm this, I'm that. This guy I played with was this, and this. His body types, he was faster, I'm slower, I was quicker than him. Whatever it is, strength, you have to be able to utilize your own specific gifts to tailor it to your game. And that's what great coaches understand and realize that Brandon Innes is not Carnell Tate, is not J.J. Smith.
Right.
All those guys are different with how you're going to win in routes based upon the things that God gave you and how you're built and what you're able to do.
That's true. I mean, throughout the years, Emeka, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Jackson, they're all different. I think the common thread is that when we talk about Brian Hartline and the run that has been going on here at wide receivers, finding ways to use that and to enhance those skills because they're not just
natural skill enhancement.
I always think that that's funny when you listen to coaches or recruiting profiles. Well, we're looking for this body type, this height, this weight, this speed. Well, those guys that I just mentioned, all of them were different. There's not one defining trait that they all had, except that they wound up being really successful at Ohio State.
I think you look at traits and you try to build a profile, but no one's ever going to hit all of that.
Sure.
Even you look at Carnell Tate and you have two guys that are 6'2", 6'3". Well, one guy's a lot thinner than the other. One guy may have better top end speed. There's just all this different stuff, man. And so it's really hard. You get linebackers. You want to build a profile of this guy, but everybody is going to be different regardless of how much you may look at them and be okay, they're between 6'2" and 6'4".
Yeah, that's what you should be, but you do this differently than somebody who's the same size.
You're tighter in the hips than this guy. You can throw a better deep ball, or you have more. You don't have as much touch. There's things you can work on to improve, but at some point you kind of are what you are a little bit. How do we get the most out of that?
Yeah.
And for a guy like Matt Patricia, who says like his philosophy is adapt to the guys that are there.
You look at New England; he did it every year, man. They changed so much based upon what they had.
Yeah, college is a little bit different in that you are pretty much locked into your roster, or you think so for 2 or 3 years.
Used to be.
Do you think that is a plus for a guy like him, or a downside?
I think it's a plus. Like anybody that says we're going to adjust to what we have, because if you bring in one player, people are like, oh, Caleb Downs. Like, number one, Caleb Downs went to Alabama because of Nick Saban. Nick Saban was in the Bill Belichick tree, so there's probably a lot of familiarity and similarity with verbiage and terms and stuff. And Nick Saban is a pragmatic coach like Bill Belichick. I call it there's scheme guys and then there's pragmatic guys. Like scheme guys, I've got a great scheme. This is what I'm going to do. We're going to run it over and over again, and I can get robots. I want the same guys in there to do the same things. And then you have guys that say, hey, just give me some of the best dudes I can get. Is there a guy that's like unique that maybe nobody else knows how to use him, but if I put him in here, he's going to be really good. And like you see that happen all the time in sports. Guys go from like being fringe out of the league players in the NFL to being like borderline Hall of Famers simply by how they're used. You remember Cameron Wake at Penn State? You probably have
average player.
Very average. You had him off the ball linebacker. Not great at that. Put him on the edge and have him rush 15 sacks later.
Well, you just look at Baron Browning. I mean,
it's like the same Baron Browning.
Sounds like you're talking about C.J. Hicks. Right?
It's littered with guys in all different positions that can do those things.
Well, just add C.J. Hicks to the list for Spring Ball, which is a month away, starting on St. Patrick's Day. It'll be here before you know it. We're going to have a few more shows before then, of course.
Green water at practice.
Although you guys are going to be on a cruise soon. So you might miss a show, but we won't stop anyway.
Won't stop.
We'll be back at Henderson next week on Monday. Normal time, normal show. Looking forward to that. But
I think the verb is same bat time, same bat channel.
That's absolutely right. But you can pop into the Gahanna official grand opening
Thursday.
And they've got the carry-out room in the back. Bob loves that. I think they're going to have to add that to every location at Roosters around Columbus. But you don't want to miss it. This place is awesome. We appreciate the team for having us out here for their soft opening. If you didn't get Bobby's invitation, come check him out on Thursday. Thanks to Nicole Cox, Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us for the live show at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you next week.